Welcome to My Little Book Love podcast, a podcast created for readers and reviewers like you. Whether you're looking for book recs, inspiration to post on your bookish social media, or validation that your favorite book was actually that good, I hope you find whatever you need here. I'm your host, Miko Books, a Kentucky-based bookstagrammer. I love fantasy, romance, and all things Sarah J. Maas. If you like what you hear today, follow the podcast on Instagram at My Little Book Love Podcast and follow my bookstagram at Miko Books. That's MICHCO Books on Instagram, where I upload more bookish content. Without further ado, let's get into it. This week, I was planning on having a co host, but it has been an insane weekend and I wasn't able to get the time to record. We just couldn't mesh our schedules up and we were just super busy. So I'm going to be going it alone today, and I wanted to still cover the same topics. So we'll be talking about the drama with It Ends With Us, the influence of influencers, and the Lyla Sage signing. Not in that order. We're going to start actually with a short review of Done and Dusted. So I picked this book up last year. It was at like a book fair event at some kind of campus warehouse, and it was so cute. And I picked the book up. It was the indie version of it, which I was like, oh, this is great. I kind of collect indie prints of books. So I've had it on my shelf for a little bit. I have not read it. I saw Lyla Sage was going to be at Parnassus in Nashville, which is a beautiful bookstore, and I kind of hit up my sister and friend, and I was like, we should go. And me and my friend had never read her, but my sister had, and she's a huge fan, so it was like, okay, we'll go. So we get tickets, and we're like, okay, we need to read the book for the event so we can kind of know what to expect. So I got the audiobook for Done and Dusted, and honestly, I was kind of slow moving through it. It's not a really big book, but I don't know, I just had a lot of things going on, so I didn't finish it before the signing. But I did finish it, I think yesterday. Yeah, yesterday morning I finished it, and I loved it. It was so good. So I'll start with just a short review of Done and Dusted. Let's discuss the tropes first. So we have brother's best friend, forced proximity. It's a ranch based book. They grew up together but didn't really get along, and we kind of had bad boy, good girl because he used to be a bad boy, and she's always been the town sweetheart. So this book also contains some of my favorite micro tropes, which if you don't know what a micro trope is, it's kind of small things that you see in other books. Not fully a trope, but a small trope, a micro trope. I don't know. That I'm not doing a good job explaining it, but they're just small things that you see in certain books. Like I'll give you examples. Um, a couple of my favorite micro tropes in this book. Number one being he owns a bar. Can you think of off the top of your head any book where the male main character owns a bar and it's not good? Like I really can't even name one. Every time I've read this, it's just been so good. Number two being he helps her through a panic attack and basically nurses her back to her old self. We see this in a lot of books where like the female main character not necessarily needs saving, but she needs a support system. She needs someone to depend on, and it's even things like there's been other books where like her depression is really bad and he has to help her brush her hair, or he just cares for her and like he's there for her, and I just love that. So in this book, the main character Emmy, she has a panic attack and he's there for her and helps her through it, and he really helps her rediscover herself and her love for writing, and it's just so good. Third, he remembers small details about her. So there's this one scene where he brings her coffee the way she likes it, and he didn't even remember that he remembered it. You know, they just kind of grew up together. They'd known each other for years. She'd been out of town for years. It was one of those things that like subconsciously in the back of his mind, he always noticed things about her. And I think that is so sweet. And I love that micro trope. And number four, we have the bar fight. Just like big men getting into a fight at a bar to protect the woman they love. Like just we love it, right? So that was four micro tropes that I love from just the first book, Done and Dusted. Let me give you a little blurb about it. So, she's a professional barrel racer. She gets hurt and goes home. Her first night home, she goes to the bar with her friend Teddy. And it turns out that Luke, the love interest, that he owns the bar. So, her name is Clementine. And he plays that song. He like gets the band of the bar to play "Oh My Darling Clementine," and he sees her there with the guy who ditched her at homecoming years ago. And he's kind of like, why are you with him? Whatever. And he tells her, your family is my family, Emmy. So even if you weren't in my bar, you would be my business. You've always been my business and you'll always be my business. And oh my gosh, is that not like really hot? I don't know. Just like a man being like, like, I don't know, and it's brother's best friend. So like, he kind of is like, protective of her, and I guess some people this just isn't for them, but like I kind of ate all this up. So it turns out that he works on the ranch where her family like lives, like the ranch her family owns, because he was basically a part of her family growing up. Like he was just like her brother's best friend that they like let come over all the time, and like that they were kind of a family for. So her dad is really important to him as well. Like he's been a really good father figure to him. So she comes home from barrel racing and she sees him. She thinks he's just the same cowboy himbo that he's always been. And everyone's telling her that he's different. And then she starts to actually see that he's different. And he helps her to ride again in more ways than one. I know, I should not say that. That was a really bad joke. But okay, so the book is spicy too. Um, let's talk about my thoughts on the book. I don't like cowboy romances, but I really, really loved this one. I kind of fell in love with Luke and Emmy and the relationship that they had. I had to get out of my head at first because I don't like instant love, but that's not what this is. And this isn't necessarily second chance because they didn't, like, they weren't together before, so it's not like a second chance and it's not instant love. But in my mind I was like, okay, we're just getting too quick into this story. But then Lyla Sage does this great thing where she kind of goes through and builds the background as you go, which is, I mean, she's just a great writer in general, and so she's building the story as you go. And so you kind of see, yeah, he was around a lot. Yeah, he knows these things. He's been there. He's like cared about her, and they have this history, and maybe like they got like they butt heads a lot, right? Maybe it was this thing growing up. But even these instances that occurred, like he was always getting drunk and hooking up with people, and even I think there's a reference in the book to like he had to pick her up from school one day and he was drunk and he had the girl he was with at the time to like drive him to pick her up. So like he always showed up for her, even when, even when he couldn't even show up for himself. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, it was just beautifully done. So we have the book in general just being able to stand on its own. It's a really strong book. I really liked it. Like I think that I'm really excited to read the second one, Swift and Saddled, and I got approved for the arc for the third one, which is Teddy and Gus's story, which is like Gus is Emmy's brother and Teddy's her best friend. And so we've had brother's best friend, but in the third book, we're gonna have I guess enemies to lovers, because like they don't really like each other, but they're gonna grow to love each other. And I guess we'll have sister's best friend, because obviously like they're both whatever. But anyways, I'm really excited to read that one almost more than I am. So the second book is Ada and Wes's story, which is her brother and an interior designer. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm just like in my mind, I'm thinking ahead. Like I'm really excited for this series, and I'm really excited to get further into it and see more about the characters and their stories. Um, I did go to the signing at Parnassus. They hosted Lyla Sage and Hannah B, who was, I think, on The Bachelor or Bachelorette. She was just like sunshine. She was so beautiful, and Lyla Sage was too. Like they were just so beautiful and kind and nice, and it's really easy to support authors that you love when they're just like they come across as really nice people. And so we went to the signing, we got there early. We're sitting front row right by the stage, and just like both of them are the kind of people that just like are very, I don't know if shiny is the right word, but yeah, just like they look like light, and they just seem like so magnetic and personable. And so we do the signing, we get in line. Hannah B's got to leave because she's going to London the next day. Like she's flying out that night to go see Taylor Swift in London, which was really cool. So she couldn't stay very long, but she did do pictures and book signing because she has her own book. I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but she does have her own book. And so she was there and she was in conversation and she had some really great questions and she did such a good job. I really like when the person they're talking to can contribute and ask great questions, and she did great. So we see Lala. I get up there to see her, and this time I actually say like I don't know, I was able to actually function and be like, "Oh my gosh, like it's just so awesome meeting you and like being here and talking to you." Like she was just so personable, like she was so down to earth, and even in her conversation like she was just funny. And when I got up there, we were talking some and I had asked her a question and she like had time for it. She wasn't like, okay, like we're really busy. Like I know I shouldn't have asked one, but it had been in my head and I didn't get to do the Q&A. And I was kind of like, you talked about authors that this okay, let me go back. So in her thing, she talked about how this happened really quickly for her. So there was 27 days between when she self-published and when Penguin Random House contacted her wanting to buy, like wanting to sign her and give her a 4-book contract, which in itself is amazing. Like her story in general is just awesome. So I kind of said, you talked about how this all happened so quickly for you. Like, so you went from a reader to an author, like a self-published author, to being like a traditionally published author. It's just awesome how quick everything happened for her. And it doesn't happen like that for everyone, but it was just amazing to hear. And I kind of asked her, you know, making that transition so quickly, like, has it, have you been able to like make friends that are authors? Like, I know it's kind of like she loves romance too. So I can't imagine going from a romance reader to being like on the same level as some of your favorite authors just kind of overnight. And she was telling me, she really likes Devney Perry and she's met her and she considers them friends now. And she said Tessa Bailey is so nice and she considers them friends now. And BK Borison, she said she loves her. And I was like, okay, this is just awesome because you just think about that transition, even mentally, like knowing that I mean, is she a New York Times bestseller now? I think so. So she's just really blown up. But that kind of transitions us into the second thing that I wanted to talk about today, which is the influence of influencers. So in this case, she mentions that she self-published. She got denied a couple times. She decided I'm just going to self-publish because I love, like some of my favorite authors started self-published, and so she was like, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So she makes the effort to kind of just put it out there and see what happens. And she named 2 influencers that really helped blow things up for her, which is Larry Reed's and Logan's Library. And so she understands that with their help, she was able to kind of get a lot of traction. So I think it's awesome that she knows by name who it was and can kind of pinpoint. But also, the power that an influencer has to take a book and kind of make like a little edit or pick out their favorite things from the book and push it to people. Like you really don't think about how far that goes, but it's a big part of why a lot of indie authors get recognized at all. It really has helped move people from indie to traditional published authors. So I think that's amazing. Um, being able to also recognize those people. I know there were a lot of people that helped push her book forward that maybe she couldn't name everyone, but even just being able to name 2 people. And then after it ended, I kind of looked at their profiles. I think I'm following Logan's Library for sure, and I have been for a while. She makes amazing content. And I don't know about Larry Reed's, I forgot to look. But, you know, I was also, I had posted last week about how I finished The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. And she had written this book, and it's so great. And I remember when it came out, I was at a half price books with my friend, and I was kind of like, okay, I've seen this book around. I think I'm going to get it. And I think at the time she was like, I don't know, I haven't heard great things about it. So I put the book back and I was like, okay, well, I mean, I don't want to spend my money on it if you don't hear great things about it because what if it's, I mean, you know, we're just all in our 20s and we don't want to spend all our money. And like, I kind of put it back, whatever. So time passes. Fast forward to like this month. And I mean, it's been like last year. What I don't know when it published. I guess it came out last year. And when it came out, I didn't hear a whole lot about it. But I decided now, like it's on Scribd, which is Everend now, and I was like, I'm going to listen to the audiobook for it. So I listened to it and I loved it. Like it was so good. It had it like I really think that people that like Danielle Jensen, The Bridge Kingdom, and Liskova, um, her series that she does with the light. Is it the Light Walker in it? What is that? I don't know. But if you like either of those authors, then I think that you would love this one. It's fantasy. It's very like advanced. I mean, the first part of it, there's a lot of advanced technology they're talking about. It's hard to follow along a little bit, but once it gets into the story, it's so beautifully done. And I kind of thought to myself, how many books are we skipping? How many things are we not doing because we're hearing from people that it wasn't for them or that they think that they heard that it wasn't great? So I messaged my friend and I was like, I read the Hurricane Wars and I loved it. And she was like, oh, okay, I don't know anything about that one. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you told me last year that like it wasn't worth the hype. And she didn't even remember that. She was like, oh, like I don't remember even hearing that or saying that. And so then I think to myself, how many authors are not getting a chance because we are just kind of seeing TikToks or seeing someone say it's not for them, and then we're telling other people, and then it's in the same way that influencers can really make you check out a book or kind of drive you to do that, they can also make you not. So I know for myself, I'm very, I don't know, I don't do a lot of low star ratings just because I understand if something wasn't for me, that doesn't mean it won't be for everyone. There are things that aren't for me that are really great books that people love. Like, oh gosh, what's the amusement park one? Fine Print. I read that. I really wasn't moved by it. It was kind of the same old, like billionaire romance, whatever. But I've never came out and been like, it wasn't for me because I know so many people love it. And um, I mean, I think it stands on its own. I finished it. It wasn't a DNF for me, but I understand that just because I didn't like something, that doesn't mean other people won't. So, more likely than not, if there's a book that I didn't enjoy or that I DNF'd, I won't really even talk about it because I feel like maybe I'm not the population for it then. I'm not the demographic. I'm not like, I'm not the audience. But that doesn't mean that there isn't one. So I think it's really interesting to consider Done and Dusted was rejected multiple times. She said she had kind of went to self-publishing because of the fact that it wasn't something that they were saying people wanted to read, whatever. But it has a really big market. There's a big demographic of people that love this, and I'm one of them now. Like I think it's great. But also Harry Potter. So just if you're an author, like just keep in mind, just because it's not for some people, or maybe people are beta reading for you, or maybe you've got ARC readers, or maybe you're like being denied by people, that doesn't mean that there's not an audience for it. So I think that is really inspiring, actually. So we've kind of transitioned a little bit. I was trying to focus more on the influence of influencers, but I guess now the important thing is recognizing your own work and knowing its value to yourself. And you know I know Lala said the other day she's at a point where she understands that just because people say they don't like it or it's not for them, she can be like, okay. So just getting to that point where maybe it's not for everyone, but understanding that like you made it and it's great in its own right. So I don't know. The influence of influencers, though, maybe being more mindful about our reviews. I know some people are going to listen to this and be like, "I'm not going to sugarcoat my reviews," and I get that, but I will, not sugarcoat them, but I'm not going to go out of my way and give a review for something that's under 3 stars because I at that point I kind of feel like what's the point? Like I will say if I DNF something, but usually I'll say why. Like the book about the mate, fake mate. I started out really liking that one until I got to the part where she goes in heat and I just couldn't do it. But that doesn't mean, I mean, I know a lot of people love that book, but there are certain things that make you DNF a book that wouldn't make other people not finish it. You know, I'm pretty sure at that point, people probably really started enjoying it at that point, especially if they like Omegaverse and things like that. But as someone who doesn't really read things like that, I understand I'm not the audience, right? What's another one that I've DNF? How does it feel? So we were doing that one for book club. Is Janine O'Reilly? I don't want to say names wrong. That's why most times I just say the name of the book and not the author because I just get so mixed up. But Janine O'Reilly, I believe, is the author of How Does It Feel, and that one's like Faye, and she's like a chemist, and she kind of like falls into the Fae realm, and they think she's an assassin, and the premise is very entertaining. I could not finish it, but I didn't review it because what's there if you don't finish the book? Like, what's there to review? Um, so I don't know, just things to think about. I would really like to hear your all's thoughts on that. I know a lot of you are content creators, and I think that we do have an obligation to be honest in our reviews and to be truthful with people, but also maybe to understand that the people that wrote this sometimes they end up seeing these reviews too. And I know we have this mindset that the reviews are for readers, not for authors. But, sometimes things kind of get, I don't know, sometimes authors get tagged in things. I know I'm on Holly Renee's ARC team, which is really exciting. The Hunted Heir comes out tomorrow. So Tuesday the 20th, it comes out tomorrow. That's the sequel to The Veiled Kingdom. So if you've not read The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee, you should read it. It's so good. But I know even Holly has been getting tagged in some reviews that are kind of like under 3 stars. And I don't think that people understand how, when you write something, I mean, it's something that you put out in the world, and that's very vulnerable. Like, that's a vulnerable thing to do. And it leaves you open to get praise for it, but it also leaves you open to receive like criticism for it or just things. I do think we should be more mindful about tagging authors in reviews that are under 3 stars as well, because think how harmful that would be for you if you put something out and you're very proud of it, and then you're getting tagged in it and you're excited to see it because you're like, oh great, I'm so happy someone's read it, and then it's just kind of like negative things. So it just kind of puts everything into perspective. So influencers have a lot of influence. I don't know if you guys have seen the drama with It Ends With Us. And so we're just going to segue on into that because I have seen a lot of influencers talking about it, a lot of bookstagrammers, a lot of book talkers, a lot of people. I've seen it on like covered by news sources. It's just been a really big topic. So I thought maybe we could discuss it today and see where we are with everything. I did go to Book Bonanza this year, and as part of Book Bonanza, we were able to see an early screening of It Ends With Us. We also were able to, so Colleen had came out and she was interviewed, I think, by someone from ET, which Entertainment Tonight, and they interviewed Colleen and Blake, and I think his name is Brandon, which is the guy that plays Atlas. And I was kind of at the time I forgot that Justin was even the director. Is it Justin Baldini? I can't remember his last name. I'm the worst with names, guys. But Justin is a director for the movie. He was Raphael in Jane the Virgin, which was a really good show. But Justin is the director. He wasn't really mentioned at all. I've been going through this week and watching back my videos of things I recorded from Book Bonanza, which I recorded a big portion of the interview they did with Colleen and Blake, and I don't think Justin comes up at all, which is very interesting. I know she does say at one point the director was very adamant about casting himself as Raul. And so we thought, it's okay to age up the characters, but they don't say Justin. So I don't know. It was just weird. I've seen all the drama about everyone unfollowing Justin on social media. At first, we can think this is a PR stunt, But then you kind of notice he's not with them. They're not mentioning him. They're not really crediting him with anything. And then it comes out that there's a lot of back and forth between Blake and Ryan and I guess Justin, and that Ryan wanted to write some for the movie, and that they kind of there's an interview where they ask Justin, "Are you going to be back for the next movie?" And he says something along the lines of, no, I think Blake is ready to direct," which makes me think that she kind of bulldozed her way into it, right? But I don't know. I know there's some misinformation going around and a lot of slander going around, which is pretty crazy because of the fact that, you know, just because you're an actor in a movie, that doesn't mean that you're well versed on what they're going through, right? Like, if I'm playing the president in a movie, well, I don't know like everything that the president would know, or I don't know. I don't think we should expect people who play, so when they act, I don't think we should expect them to know 100% like a full, but I guess there is an expectation for them to learn about the role of the person that they're going to be, like learn about the shoes that they're going to be filling. At Book Bonanza, Colleen kind of talks about it and says that it's inspired, It Ends With Us is inspired by her mom's story and some things that they've experienced. And then, it's very, I guess, awkward when Blake is asked and she's just like, yeah, it's a girl's, like, it's about empowering women. And at Book Bonanza, she was like, I brought these patches for you guys. Pick them up on your way out the door and put them, like, iron them onto your jeans for the show tonight. We're all going to be wearing floral. And I hadn't read the book. I didn't even know what it was about, really. I just watched the movie the first time and I was kind of like, oh, interesting. Like, floral, that's so cute. And then it's like an abuse story and it's kind of like, oh. So, yesterday, I did go to the movies and I watched the release version of It Ends With Us because they were very adamant. Like, they really let us know this cut that you're seeing, like, no one's seen it. Like, this is going to be something different. The end, like, what we show in the movies is different. You're going to want to watch it again. Okay, like, fine. And now I'm hearing that what was shown at Book Bonanza was Blake's cut, which makes sense because Justin wasn't mentioned at all. So I know a lot of people are saying Blake's cut received a lot of praise at the showing at Book Bonanza, but we also have to keep in mind that this was Colleen's event. So, who's really going to say, I didn't think it was a great showing? We had nothing to compare it to, right? And I think that a lot of people liked it because it was kind of like they really played up the fact that, like, it's an early showing, you guys are doing, and so who's really going to say anything negative about it? I really don't think anyone will. I just hate the thought that if they are kind of trying to push Justin out of the way, that just feels so bad. So I don't know. I think there are a lot of things that could be done with this, a lot of things that could be different with this. Like, if Justin was casted as the director, then he should get to be the director. And maybe Blake should have had training on how to answer questions and how to do media surrounding a film about domestic violence and domestic abuse. I think she does a good job acting in the movie. I think Justin does a great job acting in the movie. I think it's a good movie. It has a good storyline. I've still not read the book, so I really don't know how it holds up in regards to the book. But I just think there's a lot of drama surrounding this, and I don't know that it is all PR related. I do think some of it could be, but I definitely think we should stop slandering people. And I don't really, like in Twilight, there was Team Edward and Team Jacob. I really don't think that we should have to pick Team Blake or Team Justin. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you liked what you heard, please consider leaving a review. I know there's like star ratings on here. Consider following. It really helps, and I really like to see you guys around on other platforms too. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next weekend.